Hello, I'm LuNEJuNE, and in today's video, I'll be showing you how to counter each boss, starting from the basic boss information to how to prepare yourself when a boss is about to spawn. I made this video a while ago up until Magician because Leon was just brand new, and the other bosses we see today like iBoss and Basilisk weren't a thing back in the day. Now that we have 7 different bosses, I think it's time to make an updated version of the boss guide. Before I get along with the video here, I hate to say this, but a high percentage of you guys aren't subscribed. I don't like begging for subs, but it would be appreciated if you did drop a sub. Anyway, let's get into the video. Snake is a tier 3 boss in the danger tier list, and it will spawn in wave 5 in co-op. At class 1, this boss is the only boss that the game will spawn in PvP. This boss is something I like to call it free SP. Spawns 3 mobs, 2 normal size mob and 1 small fast mob that are half of its hit points. They spawn behind the snake boss and they will catch up to the boss itself when given some time. These mobs give out the same SP range as the current round or wave SP from mobs. This can be even simplified if you just divide 10 from what the boss gave upon dying. If the boss dropped 300 SP, then you can say you will get 90 more SP from the mobs behind, 30 for each mob, 3 mobs. Since this boss isn't that threatening to begin with, I suggest just playing the game normally. In PvP, if you let the boss spawn some mobs, you can get extra SP which will help you. There isn't much preparing to do for this boss since it isn't directly board affecting. Silencer is a tier 3 boss in the danger tier list and it will spawn in wave 10 in co-op. It will also spawn from class 2. This boss used to be like Snake where it wasn't much of a threat, but after its buff where now it silences 2 dice each ability, it got a little bit more challenging to deal with this boss. This boss has its own unique dice called Silence. As I said just now, the ability is to silence and make dice shut up. This means that you can no longer use the dice in any way, shape or form once it's silenced. The dice becomes completely useless. Before its buff, Silencer only silenced 1 dice per ability. That means it only silenced 3 dice in total before its buff. But now it can make 6 dice useless per run. Again, it's not that threatening, but sometimes it makes us feel uncomfortable. First of all, do not let any slowing or CC dice on the board slow or affect the movement speed of the boss. When you leave it to have more time to stay on the lane, it'll have more time to silence your dice, meaning as time goes by, you won't have the damage to delete the boss. Another thing to be careful is try to fill your board with dice. This is so that Silencer will have less of a chance to log your good dice. I don't know if this bug still exists, but a cool tip here is when you have a Joker dice, you can drag it to the side and when the Joker gets silenced, you can copy it to a new dice and the silence log effect will be gone. This also works for Assassin and IX when a projectile hits a locked dice. Pretty useful in co-op. Knight is a tier 1 boss in the danger tier list and it will spawn in wave 15 in co-op. This boss will appear from class 2 and above. This boss is a real threat depending on what deck you are using. This boss also has its own dice named Royal. I like to call this boss the hated one. The ability for the Knight boss is relatively simple as it just switches the whole entire field of dice to a random dice. The swap dice can be any dice from your active deck, meaning you can have the same dice that was already in place before Knight came. That is pretty much it for the Knight boss. My only tip here is to try matching your pips to a similar number. This will allow you to copy your jokers when the Knight boss switches your board. And trust me, this is how you survive Knight boss. Also, if you are using sacrifice, try copying the jokers to a sacrifice and then let the Knight change the field. This means you are getting the same average pips, but you are also getting SP. Magician is a tier 2 boss in the danger tier list and it will spawn in wave 20 in co-op mode. Magician won't appear in PvP until class 6. Magician can be very generous to you or it might be heck for you depending on your RNG. This is one of those bosses where it has multiple abilities. It has 2 abilities and the first one is called Meteor, where it will cast a meteor and anything it touches will be deleted from the board. The second ability is Heal, where the Magician boss will self-heal cause why not. The meteor is easily dodgeable since it's very slow. Self-heal is annoying cause it's literally a self-heal. It used to have one more ability called Cleanse, and it will remove any status effect on the boss or other things on the board. Luckily that got removed. Try filling your board with dice before the meteor is casted. This will have a similar effect like the Silencer Boss's silence ability, where it will be less likely to hit a dice you don't want it gone. I can't tell you if this is true or not, but you can also dodge the meteor with Joker and Switch. This will allow your Joker to survive the meteor, which doesn't really make sense, but okay. Leon is a tier 1 boss in the danger list and it will spawn in wave 25 in co-op mode. Leon won't appear in PvP until class 7. Leon also has 2 special abilities like Magician, however one of the ability isn't reusable, meaning it only does it once in its round time. Luckily for us, the ability that Leon can only use once is also the annoying ability. As I said, it has 2 abilities. One is called Howl or Roar, and the other is called Dash. Leon basically roars at your board, decreasing 1 pip from half of the existing dice on the board. This means half of your dice will be decreased by 1 pip. What's funny about this is that 1 pips are just deleted from the board. Its dash ability is self-explanatory since it does a small dash that usually kills the match. Its cooldown is 5 seconds and Leon is very threatening because of it. Try saving your SP when a Leon is announced in PvP, especially in round 1. This will assure you will be able to spawn more dice when the boss actually uses its first ability, Howl or Roar. I suggest trashing the other existing 1 pips. The old way to counter this was don't have any 1 pips laying around, but now you have to just spawn extra. iBoss is a tier 2 boss in the danger list and it will spawn in wave 30 in co-op. iBoss won't appear in PvP until class 9. iBoss was introduced with this unique dice called IX10 dice. You might know it, it basically hacks the opponent dice, healing mobs in PvP and increasing stats in co-op. This boss seems very threatening, but it really isn't. iBoss's hack ability will hack 2 dice each like Silencer Boss. The hack dice will start healing the mobs until the dice is transformed in any way. Assassin Projectile, Supplement Merge, Royal Dice Transform, or just straight up merging are ways to get hack dice unhacked. There really is no way of preparing for this boss, but I would like to say try to keep a lot of jokers on your board and try to keep the average pip low. That is really it. There's really no preparing for this. It's either good RNG or bad RNG. Basilisk has no tier in the danger list because it's completely relied on RNG. Basilisk is the newest boss to the game at the time of this recording and it spawns at wave 35 in co-op. Basilisk also doesn't spawn until class 12 in PvP. I think I did a decent job explaining about the boss in this video you see right on screen. It wasn't my best work, but I hope you can view that video and learn a bit more about the boss. It summons more bosses. It's more like a mini boss, but not the mini boss we'll see and love. It's actually tiny. It can spawn any boss excluding itself, and it can summon more if the first one isn't destroyed quick enough. The cooldown for this is 10 seconds as well, so you have to be careful. Also, the tiny bosses it spawns have half of the HP Basilisk has.
This is FAYZED music. This is